Backroads can be calming and soothing to some, but to me, I think of nothing but nightmares. I got off my shift late one Friday a few years back, and it was during Black Friday, and I had worked a 12-hour shift, and I was exhausted. The next morning, I had to be back in at work at 6 a.m., and I was not looking forward to it. So, to blow some steam off, and to clear my head, I decided to take a drive on some back roads that were in my town. I don't recommend smoking weed, but for me it's therapeutic. So I took my car, rolled some papers, and hit the back roads. And I was driving along windy roads that were surrounded by trees and woods, listening to my Apple Music. And I was actually really enjoying myself when I pulled over to take a piss. I found a safe part of the road, pulled over to the shoulder, and parked my car. And I kept it running because I was only going to be a few minutes. I only went a few feet into the woods. I wasn't too far from my car, but far enough where if any car drove by, they wouldn't see me doing my business. When I zipped up my pants, that's when I started hearing these noises. Not the noises that woods normally make, but footsteps. It sounded like a bunch of footsteps were walking close by to me, which was strange because it was very late at this point, and I have no idea what kind of person will be walking around the woods at night. Nervous, I quickly sprinted back to my car, worried that I might be being stalked or something. When I got back to my car, I noticed there was a white piece of paper shoved under my windshield wiper. Confused, I picked it up and saw that it had something written on it. It said, "You're not safe." Between the footsteps in the woods and this note, my level of anxiety was now maxed out. I tossed the paper aside and got into my car. I went to grab my phone when I noticed that it was gone. I had left it right in the center console. As I frantically searched for my phone, that's when I noticed that my wallet was also missing. I looked out my passenger window, and standing 10 feet in the woods was someone wearing this all-white mask. In my stupidity, I put the window down and called out to them if they had stolen my stuff. Seconds later, 3 more people wearing white masks appeared next to the first one. They stood there in complete silence, looking at me. I saw in my rear view another person in an all-white mask walking towards my car. My fight or flight kicked in, and I put my car into drive and just sped off. I didn't stop till I made it back to my apartment. What was supposed to be a calming backroads drive turned into a twisted nightmare, and my possessions being robbed. I did make a police report, but the police could virtually do nothing about it. This was in the northern part of New Jersey, so if anyone is deciding to take these back roads, please avoid them at all costs. My father always used to tell me that people were the real monsters in this world. I now believe him. 2 years ago, my girlfriend and I were driving to one of our good friends' party. It started at 8 p.m. on Saturday. We realized that we were going to get to the party a little bit early, so to kill some time, we decided that we would cruise some back roads for a bit. And I took a few back roads that were in the far part of the town. I've driven them plenty of times in the past, and knew my way around pretty well. We were cruising along, and we were about to start making our way over to the party, when we heard this loud pop. My car started to shake, and I realized that my front tires had suddenly popped. Thankful that I was able to maintain control of the car, I pulled over carefully to the shoulder to investigate what happened. I got out of my car and saw this rigged spike strip that was lying in the middle of the road. Like it was a board with hundreds of nails sticking out of it. I told my girlfriend to stay in the car while I went to investigate it further. As I studied the spike strip, I came to the realization that this must have been planted in the road on purpose. Mind you, it was very dark at this point, I guess I must not have seen it as I was driving. I was wondering who would have put this in the road when I heard my girlfriend yelling from the car. I sprinted back, asking what's wrong. My girlfriend had this terrified look on her face, saying that she saw someone moving around in the woods. I looked up from the car and scanned the woods around us. I saw nothing but dark trees and branches. I tried to calm her down, but we heard the sounds of gunshots ringing off in the night. They sounded very close to us. I jumped into my car and started driving away, not caring that I had 2 flat tires and that it would dent my rims. I got as far as I possibly could before I thought my car couldn't make it anymore. I was just able to pull into a gas station. Glad to be away from those gunshots, we got out of the car to further inspect the damage. As I was looking over my car, I noticed 2 bullet holes in the back left tire and the trunk. I had the haunting realization that the gunshots that we heard were actually being fired at us. My car simply wasn't drivable at this point, and I had to call AAA to come get it towed. I also had to call the police about the rigged spike strips and the gunshots to my car. When my nerves had finally settled down, I realized that the spike strip was a trap. Someone had laid it down to stop cars, and that I'm assuming trying to shoot and kill whoever fell victim to it. We never ended up making it to the party. My girlfriend was really traumatized, and I can't lie, so was I. Police investigated the area, but I was told they found no spike strips or anyone in the area. Like I said, people really are the true monsters of this world. I'm just glad me and my girlfriend survived. Thanks for listening. This story happened a year ago when I was still living in a small suburban town. I worked for a retail company and was heading into work. I had slept past my alarm and was rushing that morning. Sadly, there was major construction going on one of the main roads that led to my job, and it was going to make me extremely late. Not wanting to be scolded by my boss, who already hated me, I made the decision to turn on the nearest exit and take back roads the rest of the way. I was cruising along, trying my best to beat the GPS's time, when I saw a car pulled over to the side of the road. These back roads were very deserted and surrounded by trees and woods. There was a girl outside of her car, waving me down. I'll be honest, I almost drove past her. I didn't want to be late, but I would also feel like a complete dick if I didn't pull over and see what she needed. Because if I needed help, I would hope someone also had the compassion to see what I needed. I stopped in the middle of the road and put my blinkers on. The girl ran over to my car as I put my window down. She was a younger girl, maybe early 20s. She was slim and had long black hair. She thanked me for stopping and said that her and her boyfriend's car broke down and they needed a jump. I calculated the time it would possibly take to help her out and said, okay, I can help. But that's when something strange occurred to me. She had said her and her boyfriend needed help, yet I didn't see anyone but her on the back roads. I was about to ask her where her boyfriend was when I heard this clicking sound. My father owned many guns, and I knew exactly what that noise was. Out of nowhere, there was this man at my window, aiming a gun at my head. He told me to get out of my car slowly and not to look directly at him. I could not believe what was happening to me. I got out of the car, keeping my hands visible at all times. When I finally got out of the car, the guy with the gun punched me hard in the stomach. He spit on me, called me a dumbass, then him and the other girl both got into my car and drove away. I know this won't sound manly of me, but I cried on the side of those back roads for like 20 minutes. Everything was in my car. My phone, wallet, work uniform, and laptop. I was literally stranded. I eventually had no choice but to walk forward until I found signs of civilization. It took me over an hour till I finally made it to a McDonald's. There, I was able to use one of the employees' phones. I called work and explained what happened, and I also called 911. Thankfully, my job understood my situation, and I wasn't penalized. However, police did go through with an investigation, but no one was charged. They didn't even have any suspects. Like I said, this happened last year. The case is still opened, but I have heard no new updates concerning the culprits. This was a major L for me. For all those out there who want to be a good Samaritan, keep doing that. But please, use caution and common sense. I've since moved away from that town because of all the trauma that it's given me. I hope you all stay safe.